I'm Jenna Miscavige. I was born and raised in Scientology. I left when I was 21 years old and wrote a book about it. My uncle, David Miscavige, is the leader of Scientology, and this is my YouTube channel. Hey, you guys, I hope you're having an amazing weekend. I am back today with another question, which I thought was really good and interesting. I'm going to read it off of my phone. It is, should the Scientology community even include any of the high-up executives who treated people like garbage? How can you really know if they're still not working for Scientology just because they're out? I've been wondering this for some time, since I saw some of the top people when I was in the Sea Org leave. What's to say Scientology is not paying them to pretend and muddy the water? Just a thought. How could any of us trust them? I thought this was a really good question, and it's something that I've had on my mind a lot lately. And so for those of you who this is the first time to my channel, there has been several high-level executives from Scientology who have defected and who have come out of Scientology and who have positioned themselves in a sort of leader type position in the community and have done a lot to expose the evils of Scientology and things that happened to them personally, things that they witnessed, corruption at the top, etc. And this has been very damaging to Scientology and has gone a long way towards changing public opinion of Scientology. That being said, I have personally always been very wary of former executives who come out of Scientology and once again position themselves as any sort of leader in the community. And the reason why I'm suspicious of this is because many of these former executives have been in charge of entire base operations in Scientology where people were systematically abused. Children were systematically trafficked for labor. Sexual abuse was systematically covered up. Children were systematically separated from their families and used for heavy labor from a very young age. Now, I'm not just talking about this from a faraway point of view. These are things that happened to me when I was there as a child. And so there's sort of been this dilemma that many people have had, which is that, okay, I've seen this person be an executive while I was in Scientology my whole life, and I recognize them, and I've been groomed to sort of trust them and look up to them, and I appreciate them now coming out and speaking against it. But also, what kind of person can reach those high levels in Scientology? And when they come out, is it just because they themselves were personally hurt and they could no longer take it? And now in the outside regular world, they can see that it would be socially unacceptable to be on the side of Scientology. And so I think these are all really valid questions. They're really important things to ask. And so if it's something that you've questioned in your mind, it's not because you're weird or crazy. It's actually because you're trying to do things differently than you did growing up. You're trying to rethink everything you knew. So kudos to you. My answer to this question, and it's something that I've had to think about, and it's something that I want to go more in depth into in the next few weeks, but I think that the first thing that we should look for in the ex-Scientology community or any ex-cult community is that if somebody was a higher level executive and they're looking to be in a leadership position, whether they say they are or not, if their actions show that they're looking to lead a cause and they're asking for people to be on their side, even if they say, I don't want to be a leader, those are leadership actions. So if they're looking for a following, if they're looking to get you to tell your story, to join their cause, whatever, I think that the first most important thing is, have they acknowledged their actions as an executive of Scientology? Have they acknowledged the destructive and hurtful things that they did in their position? Not just acknowledge the bad things that were done to them or the bad things that they witnessed others do. Have they actually acknowledged their responsibility and the things that they did to forward Scientology and to hurt others in the name of Scientology? Have they acknowledged their part in being a part of Scientology that systematically ruined people's lives? Now, I have spoken to many former executive in my time, and they have always been quick to be like, Scientology's bad, Scientology's wrong. And that's an easy thing to say because that's socially acceptable at this point. Everybody knows Scientology's bad. If somebody went around saying Scientology is great, they would look like a lunatic. But then when it got down to the fine details of things, like this actual thing happened, do you think it is okay that these kids were systematically separated from their parents and moved to another state, for example, to be used as a workforce? Do you think that is okay? And sometimes when you get into these little details, they will be like, no, I actually don't think that's bad. Or they'll say, there's this one good thing about Scientology. And of course, there are good things about Scientology too. Are they actually humble enough to admit that they made mistakes, and not just as a general thing, but actual specifics? Are they able to admit to and disavow their own behavior? That's a big thing to me. And that's something that sets apart people who just say Scientology is bad and they're speaking against it because it benefits them. They have something to gain from it, whether it's exposure, money, a following, whatever, and people who really actually think that Scientology is bad. If they are not ready to admit to their part in this and to disavow their own actions and to take responsibility for them, then they are very likely to repeat those same behaviors as we've seen in the ex-Scientology community by former executives time and time again. The next thing I actually try to look out for is, does this person have humility? Do they know their place? Or do they still think that they are hot shit because they were a Scientology executive? If they still think that they're hot shit and that they're entitled to a following or they're entitled for people to listen to them without acknowledging any of their actions, then I personally see that as a huge red flag. Are they blaming everybody else for the actions that they took when they were there? A cult is something that appeals to something that humans need inside of them, whether it's power, money, attention. Cults have the potential of getting to any of us. And there is a part of us that allowed that to happen, that got something from it. Without admitting to that, then we can never personally change. Without realizing that in ourselves, we can actually never be safe again from the next cult, in my opinion. Blaming other people and saying that they did it all because of somebody else is not a valid excuse, in my opinion. And it is the opposite of taking responsibility. The next thing that I think would be a good idea to look out for in these former executives is, are they being of service to you? Or are they just looking to gain something, whether it's support, money, a following, power? Are they giving you something that is helping you heal from Scientology, that is making you feel acknowledged for what you went through, that is bringing you forward in your life? Or are they just looking to relive their God-like era? Are they inclusive and valuing people who are in the community, even if they weren't former executives? Or is this just more about narcissism and them wanting to be worshipped again? People who have not changed their Scientology way of thinking will think that they are more important than other members of the community because they were closer to or were related to or worked directly with David Miscavige, where the truth is that the opposite is very much true. Many people in Scientology spent their entire lives being ignored by their parents, having their every thought or needs be ignored and treated as if they were valueless or too much. Is this person who is coming out and trying to be a leader in the community, are they acting like you are valuable, like you are important, like your story has value and what you have to say is important? Or are they just asking you to worship them, listen to their story? All right, that's just a few points that I put together that I thought would be helpful to answering this question. I think it was a very good question, so thank you so much for asking that. And that's all I've got for today, but I want to get more into this in the future. All right, you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.